In my personal experience, marriage is a lot like playing a musical duet. It requires listening, keeping a constant and consistent tempo, and being in tune with each other so that you're in harmony and not clashing on the notes. Well, today you're going to meet a couple who, in my opinion, exemplify living and working as a duet side by side. So put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. How are we doing this morning? Welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve for this Saturday, July 27th, 2024. I'm Steve Glavin, and this is the show where we gather together around our virtual coffee table and join the conversation each week to chat about interesting topics with awesome guests. If you're joining for the first time, I want to welcome you very sincerely, and if you've been with us before, welcome back. And we're going to get started here shortly. I do want to know how everybody's doing. I see a few people out there. Corey Ann Woodard is here. Good morning, Corey Ann. Rick Venturi is here. Carla Venturi is here. Sharolyn Borris is here. Good morning, Sharolyn. Is Jason there with you, watching together? Moderator, by the way, you can tell that moderator Cat is on here. Say hi and join us in discussing today's subject. Remember, all comments are moderated by a cat. So be good. That's how I like to. Good. Sharolyn and Jason, good to see you here. We're going to be getting back to you pretty soon. Kathy Garlick is here. Kathy, you and one of your granddaughters got to go see a show in Salt Lake City last night, as I recall, by looking on Facebook. I always love to keep up with people on Facebook. It kind of feels like stalking at times. I figure you're putting it out there. It's okay to stalk you. Yeah, how is everybody doing? If you're tuning in live, this is Saturday, the 27th of July. July is almost over. We are much better than halfway through the year. Summer is really rolling rapidly, and our summer has been busy. We'll continue to be busy. We're getting ready to leave on Monday to begin a trip to across the pond to England for a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that again at the end of the show as we're looking ahead for what's coming up. Saw Mean Girls, the musical in Ogden last night, not Salt Lake City. All right. Jerry Thompson, good morning to you. And once again, do what these people are doing. If you are tuning in, say hi in the chat so we know you're here. And when we get into our topic, please do participate in the chat. This is your virtual coffee table. It's not just about me. It's a lot about me because I'm the face and the voice, but I don't like to make it all about me. That's enough of that. Hey, let's talk about a little bit of sweet and savory things that are coming up and that we want to share just a little bit. Getting things queued up here for this. Our sweet and savory for today. Does this music sound familiar? Sweet and savory for 200. This television game show icon is being commemorated with a new sheet of memorial stamps by the United States. I need more coffee. Hang on. Everybody drink. A new sheet of memorial stamps by the United States Postal Service. And that person is, of course, Alex Trebek. This is kind of cool. The United States Postal Service is releasing a sheet of memorial stamps that look like what you're seeing here in this picture. They look like the question board to the Jeopardy TV show that Alex Trebek hosted for 37 seasons. Of course, we know that in 2019, Alex Trebek did notify his fan base that he was suffering from pancreatic cancer. He stepped away from the show in 2020 and passed away a few months after that. But the stamps feature 4 columns. Each one has a heading, different heading: entertainment, game show host, famous Alex's, and forever stamps. But then each of the stamps is one specifically that honors Alex Trebek. If you peel the stamp away, I don't think there is like a question underneath. I could be wrong. It could be cool if they did that. But Jean Trebek, Alex's widow, said, "My family and I were completely surprised by Alex being honored by the U.S. Postal Service. It's such an extraordinary honor and a wonderful way to recognize what Alex meant to so many people." She went on to say Alex would be over the moon about this distinctive honor and he'd feel very humbled. Yeah. It's just cool to see this. I have been a big Jeopardy fan for much of my life, and to see them doing this is really pretty cool. And I may go out and actually get these stamps. Hey, we had a few things to celebrate this week, some birthdays and some other things that are coming up. Carla Venturi, that's a cool picture of you, Carla. I think I actually may have taken that one on our trip to Europe. But you're sipping what appears to be a cafe latte. And so I thought it was appropriate to have on here. But Carla's birthday is August 1st, coming up this coming Thursday. So happy birthday, Carla. Looking forward to your birthday and being able to see what kind of wild party you may throw for yourself. And then another friend of Coffee Breaks with Steve, who's appeared on our show before, Elisa Hurwitz, is celebrating a birthday on August 2nd. So happy birthday to Elisa. And then there was one I forgot last week, and I feel bad about forgetting. She didn't even bring it up to me. She was on here at the time in the background as our director and didn't say anything then or since. I actually had it on my list, and in doing some shuffling around at the last minute, somehow I failed to put it on. But the other day, Jason and Carissa celebrated their wedding anniversary, July 25th, just a couple of days ago. And so even though it's belated, I wanted to wish a very happy anniversary to Jason and Carissa. Do you have a special day this week? Don't do what Carissa did and not mention. Maybe she did in the chat last week and I missed it there too, in which case I'm just a total loser. But if you have a special day this week, please put it in the chat. And if you have a day coming up, say in the month of August or even September or even later this year, and you want to make sure that we do put it on our list and that hopefully I don't forget then to mention it, I'll do my very best. I will let you know that. We usually don't. But occasionally I do, because humanity. I am, in spite of some conspiracy theories, I am human. But send us an email at cbwsteve@comcast.net with your birthday, your anniversary, your special day, whatever it may be. We'll make sure that we do get it on the list, and I'll even have my advisors and production team double check my preparation for that so that we don't forget to put it on the list. All right. Yeah, I'm a wild and crazy guy sometimes about those things. Let's see who else has been tuning in here. I saw Jerry Thompson. I think we're pretty stable at the moment. And remember, again, this is being moderated. Moderator Cat is on here to make sure that you keep it clean and upbeat in the chat, which doesn't mean he will do so, but he's moderating what you do. He's got it. There's a bit of a double standard here. That's all I'm going to say. All right, listen, let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. I don't have like a full bio about their entire history. I just want to tell you a little bit about Sharolyn and Jason Borris, because they are friends, known them for a number of years, and watched them both in displaying their talent for music, and just what a wonderful couple and what wonderful parents they are. They've raised two amazing kids, James and Camille, who are now kind of reaching that stage where Sharolyn and Jason, I'm probably giving away too much about them, but they're reaching that empty nest stage in life. But I watched them carefully raise their children. They are both teachers in Pleasanton, California schools, and they teach music. And as you know, music is a big part of my life. It's an interest of mine. And these people are just amazing. So now I want to just share the conversation that I had recently with Sharolyn and Jason Borris. Sharolyn and Jason, welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve, and thanks for taking the time to be here and sharing a little bit of your story with us today.
Thank you for having us. We're honored.
Yeah. Well, listen, I always think it's important and interesting for people to get a perspective to talk about origins and upbringing, and the two of you kind of grew up together, right?
Yes.
Yes,
talk about that a little bit.
We did, exactly.
Yeah, I don't really remember meeting Jason. We technically went to the same preschool. Don't remember, partially because I was in the morning class, he was in the afternoon class, which still fits our personalities.
In what way does that fit your personalities?
Well, I hit the ground running and he just hits the ground.
Okay. You know, we go through these times in life where as kids, as adolescents, as preteens, as teens, we have crushes. We have these girlfriend boyfriend relationships, and then ultimately they kind of run their course, and we grow up and eventually meet our mate, meet our spouse. Your story is a little bit different. Talk about that a little bit.
We had our first class of middle school together, Mr. Bowen's biology class, which we still know, Bill Bowen. And he said, everybody get up, I have a seating chart. And it was alphabetical because it was first day of school and he didn't know anybody. And Jason sat next to Krista Carpenter. And I was jealous of her. So that was kind of my first feeling for Jason, was being jealous of the girl that got to sit next to Jason Borris.
What was your first date? How old were you when you had your first date together, and what was that?
So I asked her to go to our freshman year of high school Valentine dance, and she said yes, and my dad drove us.
Yeah.
So we have a picture of that date, that at the dance. There's a picture of the two of us, and Sharolyn might be a half inch taller than me.
It's pretty cringy. I think you have braces and like a prepubescent face. And
Yeah.
I remember I was changing outfits. The only reason I'm wearing that outfit is because that's what I had on when you rang the doorbell.
You're just trying to figure out, going through all the things that young teens go through to try to make it right.
Yes.
Our junior year of high school, we ended up officially dating and being a couple. And we broke up our senior year.
Just say it.
She dumped me. She dumped me our senior year. And we went to different colleges and from there. And I, 10% joking and 90% serious, say the only reason we're married today is because we went to different colleges. Because I had to, just growing up and maturing, to do that, just like learning hygiene things. My friends and I would joke about going to PE class at 11 o'clock in the morning, a soccer class, and then going straight to the noon recital at 12 o'clock at Cal State Hayward, and just sitting there, just being a sweaty mess. And we thought that was hilarious. And I'm thinking that that's not like most women don't think that's very funny. And now I know that, so I shower. And
it's amazing what we learn, through those educational opportunities. Things like being in college and understanding that personal hygiene is a good thing. Talk about, because you both, music has been a part of your lives for most of your lives, both of you. Can you talk a little bit about how music was a part of your lives growing up and how it influenced you from there?
I grew up with the same piano teacher, kindergarten through 12th grade. So she was a big influence on my life. And I did compete a little bit. She was great at pushing me to the next level, but not, sometimes I worry about our students today just having that be their identity. So she was great at giving me opportunities. In my senior year of high school, I had a recital with like a song from each era of music history. So she was just great. I was the drum major of the high school marching band, which again is different today. Our high school marching band was 85 kids and our kids marching band was over 300.
Whoa.
So they have like a different level of intensity that we grew up with. But you did not come from a musical family.
I did not come from a super musical family, but one of the great gifts my parents gave me was just to do what you enjoy. And they showed me a lot of experiences. And one of the things my dad did in the 1980s was he found out there was a San Francisco Symphony Youth Orchestra. And you could get tickets super cheap and you could sit anywhere you wanted in Davies Symphony Hall. So he took my sister and I, and we had so much fun going from the different booths in Davies Symphony Hall. And, what is it like from this booth? Let's go up to the top, to the second tier. Let's go back down to before the concert started. We just moved around and got to explore the different seats and see the angles. And I didn't play an instrument, but that was something we did several times. We went to the Christmas concert, their holiday concert where they play Peter and the Wolf. And so that was one of the experiences that my parents gave my sister and I and my brother. And flash forward a few years, and I was in the San Francisco Symphony Youth Orchestra, and I got to play Peter and the Wolf with my parents in the audience. And
wow.
So that's part of my experience. And I think in terms of the two of us being in band together in high school, I think was a huge part of our connection.
At what point did each of you know or decide that you wanted to be teachers?
Oh, good question. Yeah, probably senior year. I was a music education major, so I always had that. And then as graduation date approached, I got a little nervous about boxing myself in or painting myself into a corner. So I actually got my multiple subject credential at St. Mary's. And the first 5 years I taught second grade and fifth grade. I had nothing to do with music.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I love the fifth grade curriculum, the American history, and just the novels. You know, primary grades is kind of like learning to read, and upper grades is reading to learn. So I loved those conversations and outdoor ed. But then when it was time to start a family, I realized that teaching music was a way to work part-time. And that door opened. And so that's kind of what transitioned me to music 20 years ago. And I never left. And it's just been such a blessing. It just worked out that each year my kids got older and older, I was able to increase my workload. And so for 10 years, I was varying degrees of part-time while our kids were young. And then we remodeled the kitchen and I went back to full-time.
Wow. Jason, what about you? When did you decide or know that you wanted to teach?
So I have always, I play trombone, and I love playing trombone, and I love teaching. And I remember talking when I was in high school, going into college with my uncle about how we're going to figure out how much of each I'm going to do. But I love both. And at some point after college, I was rejected from a few grad schools that I applied to get my master's in performance in. And
thank you, Lord. Yeah, it ended up being a blessing.
It ended up working out well. And I took a couple of private school teaching jobs because you didn't have to have a credential at those jobs. The problem was I didn't know well enough how to play some of the instruments I was teaching in a band class. I knew how to play trombone pretty well, and I was a musician, and I could teach how to read music, but I didn't have enough background in the techniques of all the different instruments and how to actually teach them. And when you're a music education major, there are classes for that. You take saxophone class and violin class, which is designed not only to show you how to play them, but how to teach them. And then you take a class called Instrumental Teaching Techniques, which kind of combines all of the instruments. And then you take a conducting class or two. And so I went back to school and took all those classes and got my credential. And I can remember the beginning band job was posted in Pleasanton, and I applied thinking, well, I'll do this until I want to move on to other higher levels of teaching. And I ended up just loving beginning band. I love it for what it is, very, very much love it for what it is. And I love it for what it is not compared to teaching maybe high school and the time that it takes to teach high school. So the beginning band kids are super excited. They laugh. They're having a great time. They laugh at how terrible they sound. And we have a great time, and they get better so fast, which is so fun. So I've ended up loving teaching beginning band, and I've been doing that since 2000, and kind of similar to Sharolyn, where times change and the needs of the district change. And so now I teach 3 middle school band classes, basically a 6th grade class, a 7th grade class, and a mix of 7th and 8th graders. Wow. And then in the afternoons, I go to the elementary schools and teach 5th grade beginning band. And probably in the last year or so, I've had over 100 professional engagements on the trombone all around the Bay Area. So I get to do both, and I love that.
Sharolyn, what do you currently teach? What grade levels and what areas of specialization, vocal, instrumental, etc.?
I'm elementary grades 1 through 5. I have taught middle school choir, but I love that because I get to address the wonder of first graders for a couple of days. And then when I get tired of using my first grade voice or my own brain starts to turn to mush, the fifth graders walk in, and then I get to be sarcastic, and we can do Hamilton and talk about how it relates to their social studies curriculum. And so I feel like I have the best of all the worlds, teaching all the grade levels. We do ukuleles or xylophone instruments, little, music history. We sing, jumping to the beat, just try to make it as fun as possible.
You both also work in the same school district, correct?
Yes.
So do you see some of the students that, Sharolyn, that you teach then later on, does it ever transition where one of you has taught kids at earlier grades and then the other one gets them later on in their education?
Yes, it has. And even the fifth graders, some of them have us, like me once a week and him once a week.
At the same time.
Same
That's
grade, yeah.
You talked about kind of changing gears when you get some of the older kids, Sharolyn. And one of the things that I've noticed in following your journeys in social media is that some of the things that you post seem to give the impression that you both like to exercise a certain amount of creativity in how you teach, in terms of even utilizing costumes and different methods. And I'm just curious about that, about how you incorporate some of that fun into your teaching, why you feel that's important as part of the methodology for you yourselves as teachers, and what you present and how you feel about presenting it, and also how your students receive that.
Yeah. Well, I think in credential school, it was called SADAI strategies. And I can't even remember what that acronym stands for, but it just means, like, if you see a word on a page, especially for an English learner, it's not going to mean as much if you write the word apple than if you have a picture of an apple, a stuffed animal of an apple, and then an actual apple. An actual apple is crunchy, it's shiny, and so, yeah, just bringing as much reality. And then, for example, like I have a octopus puppet who loves octaves, and we talk about how an octagon has 8 sides and an octave has 8 notes, and he just loves the bells that are 1 octave. But then during COVID, it turned from, ornamentation to absolute necessity, because we were competing with the internet. I mean, we were teaching just like we're talking to you now. The kids checked in for attendance. That was all that was required of them, was to show up. And so literally they could close our window and play a video game or watch a YouTube. And so we had to be more entertaining than the rest of the internet. So yes, I had to get the Billie Eilish wig and learn a whole new tool belt of tech tools.
Jason, what about you?
I have a few memories and just a lot of experiences of seeing a lot of middle school concerts and elementary concerts, just being in music and thinking, oh, that worked well. Being in the audience, not as a performer and not as a conductor. Oh, that worked well. Oh, that doesn't work as well. I'm going to do the thing that worked well. And one of my mantras is have a thing. It's for elementary school kids. It's kind of fun for a few seconds to figure out how to play C on the flute. That's kind of cool. But then after that, like, now what? And if for elementary kids, part of the hook is, we're going to play Star Wars and I'm going to wear a Darth Vader helmet and conduct with a lightsaber. And that's a thing. We're going to we're going to play the 2-note half-step Jaws, da da, and we're gonna have a kid in a shark costume run around and just be silly, and that's a thing. And all of a sudden the kids are like, oh yeah, that's hilarious, and that's funny, and the audience is laughing and the kids are laughing and they can't believe that that's really happening. And like, we want kids excited about being there. And so that just have a thing is kind of one of my mantras about getting kids in. So
2 notes.
Just 2 notes for Jaws. It's also super effective because that's about all we can play by December. So it works out really, really well.
Yeah.
And I told Jason, I'm like, Steve's things is socks. Like everyone's got to have a trademark.
You got to have a thing.
Yeah, we love people with things.
Oh man!
Yeah. So now we own a few Star Wars helmets and a really cool Gandalf costume that I've conducted some Lord of the Rings.
Oh, you were Ken last year.
Ken, I've got the
Barbie song.
Yeah.
You got to save part of your budget for the song you're only going to play once. Of course, you don't want to waste your taxpayer money, and you do want to create a library of musical repertoire, but you also got to hook the kids in with that one song that's popular that year. So for me, that was the Barbie song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sharolyn, you mentioned how things had to be adjusted during COVID. And I think that was obviously had a huge impact in the education system for a couple of years there, but it's had ramifications since then because of some of the things that kids missed out on during that period of time when they couldn't be together live. What have each of you found is different in education in general, and in possibly even in the ways that you have had to help kids catch up since COVID and the return to the classroom? Has that changed your approach and changed your methodologies in any way?
Yeah, for me, I think, COVID was this time where when we returned, every teacher kind of reevaluated who they were and what they were even doing in a good way. Sometimes you just do things because that's the way we've done it for 12 years, and it kind of forced us to reevaluate like, oh, well, maybe what was good then isn't good now. And now I just think we're there to mature kids, teach them how to interact, and then we'll get to music, and now that we're back to doing plays again, a lot of these kids didn't stand on a stage and sing in a choir first grade and second grade. They're doing it for the first time in third grade. So just getting them to stand up there and navigate that, like that is the foundation of what we're even doing, the lesson, how to act in community. And the song kind of takes care of itself. I'm not worried about that. But yeah, and a good administrator of ours said, if 15 minutes of your 45-minute lesson is on, behavior and growth mindset, that's okay. That's like the foundation of why we're there.
Jason, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of teachers in 2019 and earlier were having a conversation with each other about, hey, our students aren't paying attention like they used to. And devices and too much screen time is having an incredibly detrimental and noticeable and documentable effect on just students' ability to pay attention. And that was before COVID, before we said, okay, kids, now get on a screen for 6 hours and don't look at other stuff on the internet, but pay attention to your teacher talking to you for a couple hours a day. And that made it worse. And I think I still, it's hard to know what was COVID and because this was way before COVID. We were seeing, hey, kids all have phones and they're playing on games on their phones and it's just crushing their attention span. One example of that is this past school year, I would be able to pull the trombones out of the beginning band, leave the other teacher in the room with the class and play with them, and then the trumpet players, and take turns, and just 10 kids and me. And that's going to be super engaging because I'm not going to talk. I'm going to play something and you're going to play it back. And then I'm going to play something and you're going to play it back. And I'd see 5 of the 10 kids just tracking with me, paying attention. And we were outside and I'd see 5 kids and I'd say, I'm going to play 3 notes and then you play 3 notes. And I watched kids just totally not able to do that. Just staring around, looking at the ground, looking at trees, looking to see what their neighbor was doing. And then at the last second, when we were done playing, it was sad. It was just, hey, that kid's brain needs no screens for a month and he'll be fine. But that's one of my soapbox things is like, we've got to get less screen time for kids. Mm-hmm. And not like, oh, like a little bit less would be good. I mean, shockingly less. Mm-hmm. Another story is I was, a gentleman came to one of my classes and shared about the music camp that he teaches at, that he leads, and invited kids to come. And he mentioned, oh, your devices don't work. We're out in the wilderness and can bring your phone, but it doesn't work. And one of the kids in the band class was at the camp the year before. And he said, I miss having a phone that didn't work. I miss putting my phone away and you just interact with your friends for a whole week. And you just go swim in cold lake water and stare at trees with your friends and walk around and just interact. And he said, I miss having a phone that didn't work.
And it's okay to be bored. Because I think parents today, us included, we think, oh, well, to get them off screens, we'll put them in soccer and then we'll go to karate and then we'll go to the pool. Like, no, it's okay just to drive around and look out the window and look at trees, because that's when your brain wonders things. It solidifies maybe the school lesson you heard earlier in the day so it's okay to be bored.
Music and the arts in general are sometimes looked at by people as a sort of unnecessary extras in the education system. They're often the first programs that get cut if there are budget constraints. Can you each talk a little bit from your own experience about why the arts in general, and for you music specifically, are really important in the education system?
If you were the school board, I would address how many students are in your class?
Oh, in my middle school classes, I have 60, 60, and 60.
So to replace him, it would cost twice as much. Mm-hmm. If you had an English class of 30 and 30. So just from a economic standpoint, we're a great bang for the buck. I see 800 students a week. So that, but also my mind is going to the high school. We were at back to school night, and an acquaintance of ours sat next to me, and I knew his kid was not in that class. So I just said, oh, I think you're in the wrong room. And he said, well, actually, my kid's a TA next period, so I didn't really know where to go. And when I was in high school and I didn't know where to go, I'd go to the band room. So he said, now my kid's in high school and I wasn't sure where to go. So I just came to the band room. He's like, I feel safe here. I knew there's friendly, warm, and loving people here. And that's how the kids feel. We volunteered enough with our own kids in high school band. Some of them do struggle with like the post-COVID depression, social anxieties, even self-harm and worse. And band gives them, I could show you the videos of them singing arm in arm, both the discipline and the structure of being places on time, standing in row and column, but also just the instant family.
Yeah, and I was thinking about how music, choir, band, strings, for so many kids, that's the reason they want to come to school. They'll do everything else, but I'm thinking of two specific students, two specific instances. One was last year where a student was having a tremendous amount of anxiety about coming to school. And the plan was, okay, just come to band. Just for a week, just come to band. And it was debilitating anxiety about coming to school for this one child. And the plan was just go to band to get going again, and then we'll go from there. And then the following week, he came to more and more classes. And but band was the place where he felt I can do that. And I had another student in elementary school who said that they're sick and they just had to go home. And so they went home at lunch, and band was the last thing of the day. And the child walked back to school for band after they had gotten to go home.
Suddenly felt
better. And the teacher had to tell the child, well, no, that's it. Like once you go home, you're sick. You keep everyone else healthy. This is way before COVID, but yeah, you stay home. But thank you for coming. Like, so band, like that's for some kids, that is literally the reason they want to come to school. It's why they come back to school. And it's a reason to want to be at the building and at the campus.
Yeah, and the middle schoolers
go. The number one thing.
We go to Disneyland every spring, which has an amazing performing arts program. Disney has it dialed in. But for most of them, maybe all of them, it's the first time they've stayed in a hotel without their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And they are just adorable. They are besides themselves. We go in as chaperones, take away all the coffee, but just navigating who's going to shower first. If we all take the elevator at the same time, we're going to be late to breakfast. They just have to think about things and negotiate.
Yeah.
And just watching them mature, stumble, make mistakes, learn from their mistakes. It's just, I love that trip for that reason.
That's great. Sharolyn and Jason, thank you so much. You know, as I think about you, the song title that comes to mind is Side by Side. And I just see the two of you as navigated life together over so many years, as you work together in the teaching work that you do. And I just want to say thank you so much for your work, for teaching so many of these kids. You hear those numbers of how many kids you're dealing with right now, and you multiply that over the years, and stop and think about the impact that you have made and continue to make. And I just want to say thank you for that. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share such a fun and amazing story with us.
Oh, thank you, Steve. We're honored.
All right, our conversation with Sharolyn and Jason Borris. And again, they've been on here today, and you can ask your questions, make your comments. Even after we are finished today, you can stay on, or you can come back here either on Facebook or YouTube and add to the comments and conversation, and Sharolyn and Jason will be able to go in later. Do you get why I wanted to have them on the show and have them share their story? I love their love story. I love them as people of integrity, as partners. They're among those couples who really exemplify the idea of a married couple being best friends as well, and working together, even though they're not in the same, office or the same workplace exactly at the same time necessarily. Some couples can't work for the same company, can't work in the same space, can't work in the same industry. And I've watched Sharolyn and Jason navigate that, not only with grace, but just really showing what true love can do. But I just also appreciate them as teachers, as people who are investing in the lives. You heard those numbers. That's absolutely insane how many students they are seeing regularly in any given school year. And then you multiply that by 20 years or so of teaching, and think about the impact that has made. It really is extraordinary. So thank you to Sharolyn and Jason. I want to share some things that are coming up in the next few weeks, and let you know what we're going to be doing. Hey, next week, August 3rd, there is not going to be a Coffee Breaks with Steve. We're taking a bit of a hiatus. We're transitioning as Carol and I are getting ready to leave for this trip. Going to have 1 week where we're not going to be on the air, just because we're trying to get other things organized, and with our guest hosts and co-hosts and everything else. So we'll make sure we'll put out some announcements on the Facebook page to make sure that you know this if you're tuning in later, or for those who didn't get to tune in today. But don't worry, if we're not on next week, no biggie. We'll be back. And in fact, when we get back in a couple of weeks, I'm still going to be gone. And yeah, Carissa and Shalane are going to be filling in on the show on August 10th. And in fact, we've got a very special guest, a lady by the name of Asel, who is from Kazakhstan, actually lives in Kazakhstan, it's a country on the other side of the world. And she's going to be having a conversation with Carissa about language, about culture, words without borders, talking about how language shapes us, the importance of language, and also sharing a little bit about the culture and the history of Kazakhstan. I hope that sounds interesting to you, because it's an amazing conversation. You will not want to miss that. And then on August 17th, Shalane and I will have just spent the week, and we'll still be in Las Vegas. And we're going to be talking about some of the amazing things and the crazy things that we may have done over the course of that week, and sharing a little bit about what life is like in Las Vegas. Some of you know that already. You have been there. You spent considerable time there. You visited there. But we're going to have a little bit of a Viva Las Vegas week on the 17th of August. You will want to be here to enjoy the insanity that will obviously be there when Shalane and I get together in the same space. And then on August 24th, Chris Carter, who is the executive director of the Livermore Valley Arts, which runs the Bankhead Theater and other venues and brings in arts, acts, performing arts, the visual arts, the fine arts from all over the world to perform at the Bankhead Theater, an amazing venue. You're going to hear Chris talk about the history of his organization, his own interest and background in music and the arts, and why he feels, it's kind of supplementing the kinds of things we heard today from Sharolyn and Jason. Why are the arts important in our culture, in our lives, in our education? You will want to be here for that as well. What are the topics you'd like to discuss? You guys have great ideas, all of you out there, whether you're tuning in live right now or you're tuning in later. Think about some of the things and some of the people, some of the topics that you feel would be interesting. So many of the topics that we discuss, so many of the people who have been a part of Coffee Breaks with Steve joined us on the show, joined us as viewers, as people around the virtual coffee table, come from you. And we want to continue that. We want to continue that tradition that you are part of this actively. You are part of the Coffee Breaks family. So if you have ideas about topics, you have ideas about guests, send us an email at cbwsteve@comcast.net. Share your ideas. We can have a conversation about it and then see what happens. It's happened before. It will continue to happen, and we want you to be a part of that. One other reminder, please, to remember that we have a YouTube channel. And I'm actually going to put the link in here because if you're not already subscribed to our channel, I would invite you and I would really encourage you to subscribe. Yes, you can watch live on Facebook. The chat is much easier to follow when you're on live in Facebook, but the YouTube channel gives us a much broader reach. More people tune into YouTube than Facebook to watch videos. And we want to grow that side of it. Why? Because I have to boost my ego by having a bunch of people subscribing to my channel on Facebook or on YouTube. No. What I would want to do is make sure that the topics that we're discussing and the amazing guests who join us here on the show are reaching even more people. How many people would be inspired and motivated by listening to Sharolyn and Jason talk about their own journey and talk about the importance of education and share their creativity? Other guests who we've had on the show and ones that we're going to have coming up, we need for more people to be seeing them. And as you subscribe to the channel, that raises our visibility on YouTube. And if you would do me another favor, not only subscribe, not only click the bells on and click the thumbs up and go in and view our videos. Even if you watch live, go back and rewatch them. You will gain. I've heard people say this. I watched it live and then I went back and watched it again and I picked up even more. I find the same thing when I go back and watch what I have recorded, what we have talked about. I actually enjoy rewatching, not because I like to see myself or hear myself talk. In fact, I'm one of those people, I don't like to watch myself on video. I don't like to listen to myself recorded. I would prefer to avoid that. But our guests are amazing. And it's worthwhile. So if you're already subscribed to our YouTube channel, would you please copy the link? You can see it here in the chat. If you go to the YouTube channel and you can click up on the top to copy that, and you can share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, share it with other people. Even if you share a particular episode, tell them tune into this episode. Please encourage them to go there so that we can raise our visibility so that more people can participate and can learn and can be inspired and can be motivated. We're really about that. And I'm really about wanting to promote the people who come on this show because they are amazing. So thank you for listening to that little bit of a soapbox. Thank you for doing that. We want you to be a part of this family and we want more people to be a part of it. We can grow to thousands of viewers on the YouTube channel. We're never going to lose this sense of family. We are a family. And I will share something else with you. We have been now on the air for 5+ years. We're in our 6th season consistently of Coffee Breaks with Steve. This was episode number 237. 108 of our episodes have included guests. And of course, in the early year and a half or so, we didn't have guests. That was something that grew out of this later. And then at first it was intermittent. Now it is most of what we do. And our guests are awesome. 108 episodes with guests, featuring a total of 73 individuals because guests have come back and repeated their appearances. We're going to continue to do that, bringing back the people who have awesome messages. So you're going to see new guests, but you're also going to see some of your favorite people coming back to Coffee Breaks with Steve. Think about that. Think about the impact that we're already making. Think about why you tune in and share that with others. All right, I've done enough of a soapbox here. I'm done with the soapbox for today. But thank you for listening to me, and thank you for taking the time to follow up on that with the YouTube. Final thing I want to say a very sincere thank you to Jason and Sharolyn once again for taking the time to be on the show, to share so many creative and cool and fun facts about themselves and about how they teach. And thank you, Jason and Sharolyn, for what you do, for making such an amazing impact in the lives, not only of the students you're teaching, but I think about the generations that are being affected, their parents, and then as they grow up and become parents and their kids are now being influenced by you and by other teachers. Many of you out there are teachers, or you have people in your family who teach. I want to say thank you to you as well. And for all of you who tune in and you're a part of our virtual coffee table, a part of what happens each week, thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging with us, for getting the word out about us, and for taking the time yourselves to use what you have to be an advocate, to be an ambassador, to do things that touch the lives of other people. So please don't forget that you can find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Have a great week. We won't see you next time or next week, but we will see you next time, 2 weeks. Be here. Take care.